Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. We'll start with LSU playing at Missouri, and if you feel that shift has anything to do with Saturday.
I don't think that that's going to be a major issue. I think if this had been you traveling on the road to Florida or Georgia, and that might be a bigger issue. Going to Missouri, and I don't want to, just kind of wipe it with Missouri, but it's still, I think it's a situation where you understand your opponent. And one of the things Ed has done, I think, a really good job of is getting his team to refocus, no matter what happens, to refocus back on what's at hand. So I don't, if you will play bad here, you can't blame that on traveling to Missouri.
Yeah.
You got to blame that on that you weren't good that day. Come on, bottom line. Everybody looks for excuses in this world. No, it's your opportunity here and to show some grit. And we'll talk about the Saints later, but to show a little bit of grit here. You got some adversity here. You got some young men who are from the Lake Charles, Lafayette area, and human nature. You worried about your family, your friends, what's happening there, but you understand that going to Missouri, you just got to take care of business. You can't do anything about the storm.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything about that. That's out of your control. What's in your control is to get on the plane, go to Missouri, take care of business, and when you get back, see, and I'm sure, with the way things are today, you can get in touch with family and friends and everything pretty quickly. I mean, you just feel so bad for that area. My goodness. I'm an old country boy, and I hear people say lightning don't strike twice in the same spot. That's a bunch of horse hockey, because I done seen it happen way too many times. That those sort of events happen. But if you don't play well against Missouri, you can't blame that on distractions. You got to blame that on yourself. You got to look at that guy in the mirror.
Mike, they did play much better against Vanderbilt. Let's unpack a little bit of that. What did you like on Saturday night in Nashville?
Well, in the offensive part of the game, I like the fact that they showed more of a commitment to the running game. I thought their offensive line played better than what it did certainly in Game 1 against Mississippi State.
Sure.
And so that part to me is always important. As much as this game has changed in so many ways, and it certainly fits the pitch and catch part of it, there is a part of this game that's still about being physical and still about showing some toughness and physicality and running the football. And I thought they were really good at it against a team who stacked that line on you. I mean, they were trying to stop it. And, John Emery coming in, and other than coaches probably at Destrehan, I've seen John a lot. He's from my neck of the woods, right up the road from me. John's talented. I mean, really is. Last year he had some issues in practice, which you're going to get on the coach's bad side. You drop that ball in practice as a fumble, man, you're not real high on the list, And so you saw it with John. He ran with a lot of fury between the tackles. He's got some edge, quickness, and speed that, God give you. Either you got it or you don't. And, man, when he's out in the open field, he's got that ability to kick that thing in another gear. And so that certainly helped you. Hopefully Curry will be back this week, and he gives you that power running game along with Tyron Davis-Price. But, man, I like that part. I liked it. And the second part I really liked was Miles seemed much more comfortable in the pocket. He was not bailing out. My old friend Joe Clark, who's almost 90 years old, coaching this league for so many years in the NFL, college football, I always used to say, about a guy that takes off like that. He says, he's like a horse. He's a bolter. Any little noise or any little distraction, if you in a field with a horse and especially a young horse, man, he'll take off running. And that's what Miles did against Mississippi State. He was a bolter. Man, he bolted out of there. He was much more patient, staying in the pocket, stepping up, stepping aside, making the throw. And so that I see the improvement there. Miles did a really good job. And I didn't think he really played awful in week one, like some people wanted to say. I thought he played pretty well. It wasn't his fault they lost the game. When you give up over 600 yards, man, you can point that finger in that direction. So I thought he played very well. Made great improvements from week one to week two. The receiving core, man, and I'll say this about a couple guys, and I give Coach O a lot of credit for this, is that he see a guy working real hard. And, man, he is trying to muscle his way in there one way or another. He gives him an opportunity. We saw it with Russell Gage years ago. What this week was, Jontre Kirkland, Andre Anthony. Man, Andre made some plays on defense. I mean, he was in that backfield as much as Kenny Seals was. And so was Ali Gay. So it made it difficult for Seals. But, man, Jontre coming up big. My cousin Tim was head coach at Lutcher, coached him there. And Tim retired from coaching. And then Dwayne Jenkins came in, won a state championship with Jontre. And, I'd heard some of the LSU coaches talk about, oh, man, Jontre is going to be the next Corey Webster. What? No, he's an offensive player. I could have told him that 4 years ago. I mean, they're switching around the defense. Come on, he's an offensive guy, and he's gotten better as a route runner. He's a very good open field runner. He's got that ability to make people miss. Man, and I was so proud of him because, he hit them big plays for the Tigers. But, man, he works. He's a hard-working guy, and he got his opportunity, and he made the most of it. And, one thing about Ray Jenkins, he reminds me, I was talking to a former Major League pitcher. He's sort of like you see some pitchers are. Every game I'm not going to say who the pitcher is. He said, man, I'd throw a bad pitch in the first inning. Either it would get away from the catcher or would go over his head. He said, now, once I did that, then I could settle down. Jenkins is good for one drop a game. He's going to drop it early, and then after that, he's going to make plays. And so, there is some nerves involved with that, but I thought Jenkins played great again, and I can't say enough about Terrace Marshall because of the fact you see what teams are doing. They are rotating coverage to his side of the field, and he is beating bracket coverage on that last touchdown. That was bracket coverage, and he split right down the middle and scored. So, man, you got a lot of people involved. You ran the football better. John certainly came up big. Terrace, man, he's a big-time player, no question about it. And on the defensive side of the football, you did a much better job. You didn't give up the big play. And, man, does Stingley make a difference.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and you got those young guys up front, again, making plays. Ali Gay, B.J. Ojolari, Jaqueline Roy. Now you're going to get Logan back this week. Elias Ricks, again, making a big play in the secondary. So, again, and I've said this back in the spring, I'll say it again in the summer, and I'll say it again now, that you're going to catch LSU, you better catch them early.
That's true.
Because I think, once you feed the little puppies enough, they get to be the big dog. And you feeding them, you're not force feeding them either. But man, they starting to eat now, and they're not little puppies no more. And so they're getting some experience, and they'll need it because you know what happens down the road when you're going to have to go to Gainesville to play a really good Florida team.
Mike, let's talk a little that Monday Night Football game with the Saints and the Chargers. Found out today that even though Tyrod Taylor's healthy, Justin Herbert is going to start for the Chargers. How do you like that matchup with Herbert against the Saints defense?
Man, I like a rookie playing against a rookie quarterback.
Me too.
I think, again, you can see his talent. I mean, he is a big-time player, but he is a rookie. And, Sean said something on Monday night that I thought was interesting in talking about the quarterback situation and talking about their evaluation of Herbert and them knowing about it. And then, we had to hear about the lineage between Hebert and Herbert, and that got to be sort of long. But oh yeah, I done heard it a lot.
Imagine
and
that.
They are related. They are related, and even Herbert told me that at the Manning camp. They are related somewhere down the line. But what I watched of Justin is he's very poised. He's played a big-time program. He is a big man because Bobby wanted to bet me, which I knew I would never get money from him, that Justin is not that much bigger than him. So we compared pictures of him and I standing next to one another, and of Herbert standing next to me. Put it to you this way, I could have bought a lot of rounds at the Sazerac house. No, he's a big guy. But you're talking about a really good athlete. And that's something the Saints are going to have to be cognizant of Herbert taking off running with the football. He throws the deep. It's very similar to what you saw at Oregon. What he was doing with the Chargers was throwing a lot of stuff short to Austin Eckler, almost like a dump-off pass, like wide receiver screen to Keenan Allen, or it was real deep. And you saw in the deep pass, Tyron Johnson, former LSU football player from Warren Easton, man, he caught that deep pass, and man, Tyron, he sort of bounced around all over the NFL. But he's got a good spot there because Herbert loves to throw the deep ball. When interviewing him, I asked him favorite pass. He said, "I just love to throw it deep." And it was interesting. He didn't even think about it. It was no short intermediate stuff. When you watch him throw, he stretches the rubber band on intermediate. I mean, it's not that, that 5 to like 11 yards. Man, he wants to push it if it's 15, 16 yards downfield. So that's his forte. He did that a lot at Oregon, was throwing the deep ball downfield. And so for the Saints, you got to be cognizant of that. But Sean made a comment about Tyrod Taylor that we have to be sort of open to this idea that they may use Tyrod Taylor as an RPO quarterback because of Eckler's injury. I thought it was interesting. He brought it up. Nobody yanked it out of him. He brought it up that, it was, we got to also be open to the fact that with their lack of now a running game, without having Eckler, now they do have the rookie and Josh Kelly, that Tyrod Taylor may come in and play some RPO plays. It's funny he brought that up on a Monday night. And so, again, you got to be kind of looking into the mirror here of what Los Angeles.
we're all still doing it, Mike.
I got it. What the Chargers might try to do to help their rushing attack. Because now if I know that Herbert wants to throw it deep downfield, I can play some deep coverage part. But if I can run it a little bit, then you can't do that a big majority of the time. You can't do it. And so it's interesting Sean brought it up about Taylor, that I think we're going to see him in that role as that RPO quarterback because of Eckler's injury. The one thing you lose, now I think Eckler's a really good, now he isn't a real big guy, but he's a really good runner, catches the ball well coming out in the flat. Joshua Kelly, I like that UCLA. He kind of bounced around California Davis and then goes to UCLA. The one thing that I did notice with Eckler is how good of a pass protector he is. Now, you think about it, you got a rookie running back protecting a rookie quarterback, and how a lot of times the breakdown is the fact that somebody misses a block, and it may well be the rookie running back and putting him in a bad spot. So, man, I think the world of Justin. He's a wry sense of humor type of guy. We had a long talk twice at the Manning camp about, lineage and it was a young guy that really loved baseball and basketball more than he loved football. He became a lover of football as he got older. He told me like 15, 16 years old, I really fell in love with football. But here was the thing. He had no major college scholarship offers going into his senior year but one. It was 4 miles from his home, Oregon. And look what he did to change that Oregon program. He's played a big part in putting Oregon, like it or not, they're the big dog in the Pac-12. It ain't no USC, UCLA. It's Oregon. And Justin Herbert had a lot to do with that. I think he's going to be a terrific quarterback. But as a rookie, you're going to make rookie mistakes. And he sort of tips you off on what he likes to do. Real short, real long. So you get it. You know what you got to play against him. Those two edge rushers are pretty doggone good now. And so I'm glad to see Ramczyk back at practice because, man, you could tell once he went down, the Saints running game, again, was such a big part of it. And I think, again, similar to LSU, the physicality part, Saints 18-2 in the month of October, but even more, that this team has won 95% of their games. And it's over 77 games when they rush the football 30 times or more. I mean, that tells you the point. The Chargers are really stout against the run. They play the run well. So you got to be patient and kind of bang away at them a little bit and try to catch Bosa and Ingram when they're coming up the field to rush the quarterbacks quickly, because that's when you can maybe make a big play sliding that running back right past them.
Mike, let's continue there with that matchup with the Saints offense against the Chargers defense. You talked a little bit about the ends. Mike, what do they do with the uncertainty with Mike Thomas, if he plays, if he doesn't, or do you just continue as you have, assuming he's not going to be there?
Continue what you've done. You unplugged your own running game against the Raiders and the Packers.
That's true.
They didn't stop it. You stopped it. You stopped yourself. You stopped running the ball. Keep running it. Now, again, I think that Los Angeles is pretty doggone good stopping the run. You know, they're pretty stout, that front seven. But you got to continue to work at them and work at it and keep running it to keep them honest. But this is where you damn if you do and you damn if you don't. Their secondary has not been good the last couple years because of one reason. No Derwin James. You talk about a guy that could tilt the field. Mm-hmm. He did that as a rookie. His range, his ability to get to a football in flight, he saved those cornerbacks bacon many times because he could make a play on the ball. Come on, there ain't a lot of guys when Derwin James is healthy that can play like he can. He is a big-time NFL player. Problem is, he's had the buzzard luck. He just can't stay healthy at all. And that is a detriment to them because you've seen other teams, and you saw Brady take advantage of it last week, and it was kind of tick for tack. You know, Los Angeles jumps out ahead quickly, and then here he comes. You know, and bang, 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 bang downfield, and they would run the football, but they were taking full advantage of the fact that you might say next man up, but that next man, he ain't in the same area code as Derwin James. He makes that big of a difference. I'm interested in Bosa because that guy is one of the elite pass rushers in this league. And he's a pure speed, quickness type guy. I mean, he's got a nice array of moves, but boy, it's all based around his speed, his quickness, his takeoff ability off the snap. And so I do know one thing. Drew knows enough about getting rid of the football quick. But I was encouraged last week with his rapport with Emmanuel Sanders. 2 straight weeks now. Mm-hmm. They seem to be on the same page. But I think the biggest take from that game from player standpoint, Tre'Quan. Okay, and we've talked about this many times. It's not about his talent. It's not about his route running skills. It's not about his toughness as a blocker. He'll go over the middle and make a catch. It's playing with a sense of confidence as a player that I sensed, and from talking to people with the Saints, they didn't feel he was a typical receiver. Man, you got some receivers, you listen to them talk, you'd swear they Jerry Rice. I mean, you know, I'm open all the time. Okay. Tre'Quan's not that type of guy. And I think this game, coming up with 2 touchdown catches and that big conversion play late, because you wondered how, man, if you punt it the way Stafford was slinging it, that you might have been sweating it toward the end, that, man, he comes up with a big catch late. And so my take is I want to see him do it again. Can he piece together back-to-back strong weeks? And if you can, and you couple that with, even though Mike Thomas, if he comes back Monday, he is still not going to be close to being healthy. It takes you 6 weeks, full weeks, to come back from that high ankle sprain. And you just 4 weeks into it. So you might get to 80% Michael Thomas, which is as good as some hundreds. But, man, if you can have Tre'Quan come back and play at a high level and play with that confidence, and Drew's on the same page with Emmanuel Sanders and the running game, you got something cranked up here. And the good news, again, is with Ramczyk. It looks as though he'll be back for Monday, and that's really good news because you saw with Ethan Greenwich, and he's a guy I know Zach really, really likes. He thinks one day that Ethan Greenwich is going to be a really good player, but he ain't ready for prime time yet. Mm-hmm. He didn't understand what he had to do. Some plays he's taking the outside guy, some plays he's taking the inside guy. He was confused. Is how many times we say it. You can't know what to do just some of the time. You got to know what to do all of the time. And when you're going up against Ingram and Bosa, you best be ready because those guys, they know how to twirl you around real quickly. So, again, I think the patience in the running game, the emergence of Tre'Quan, certainly Drew played his best game of the season. And defensively, the guy that stood out was a guy that hardly seen any snaps, Patrick Robinson.
I know. How about the interception?
The interception was big, but throughout the game, and listen, he ain't playing those scrub receivers. Kenny Golladay is a really good receiver, and I know Kenny's agent very well. And Kenny told me that, he was at North Dakota, then goes to Northern Illinois. His combine stuff was okay. It was not great. It was okay, but, man, he knows how to run routes. He's a big receiver. He's almost 6'4". And that private workouts right before the draft, the 3 teams that brought him in were Detroit, who picked him, Green Bay, New Orleans. That the Saints had a lot of interest in Kenny Golladay come draft time, and instead of picking Kenny, they picked Alex Anzalone. And with the Packers, it came down between Kenny, I think it's Martavius Adams, the defensive tackle from Auburn they picked. And then, he ends up going to Detroit. Man, he would love to, imagine Stafford's a good player, but look the team you're around if you'd be in Green Bay or in New Orleans. Yep. Man, they got some talent on the offensive side of the football with Detroit. But, boy, defensively, man, they El-Stinkle.
Let's talk LSU, Mizzou. For LSU, it feels like this is more about LSU than it is about Mizzou. But what building blocks would you like to see LSU continue to place where they improved, obviously, week 1 and week 2? Where are the areas you'd like to see them continue growing?
Matt, I always think the last thing to come together is your offensive line. That you can practice it, but it is just practice. You got to do that in a game, and the speed of it is there. And so I would like to see continued improvement along the offensive line. And listen, you're getting production out of your receivers and backs. And I think the more Miles plays, the better he'll be. But I think I want to see, again, continue work along the offensive line because guess what? The team you're going to play next, that defensive line looks a lot different than Missouri.
Yeah.
Put it to you that way. So in that part, also, too, LSU's getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and they're getting it with the young kids along with Andre, who's doing a really good job also. Is that there are some breakdowns in the secondary at times. Now, I think there's some maybe communication issues there. That is all about playing together and just understanding where you have to be on each play. Because when you're going to play Florida, Trask is going to find a spot, and you're going to have to match up against the tight end. You see with Missouri, they've got a lot of problems moving the football via the air. And that used to be the strong point of Missouri. You go back when Chase Daniel did it, when he was there, and then Drew Lock did it when he was there. And good gracious, watching them throw the football, it's like a horror show. That's why that quarterback's been pulled. And they're giving Connor that opportunity. to play this week, and we'll see how Bazelak does as the starting quarterback there. But they got some issues in the pitch and catch part of the game, and there's certainly some breakdowns along their offensive line. So I think LSU should got to take advantage of that. They're going to try to run the football. Mizzou, even though they threw the football a lot and has always thrown it a lot, no matter who's the head coach, they do have that element of the running game that's there, and they got a really good running back. So, again, what's shocking is just how poorly they've thrown the football this year. And, man, their secondary, ooh, goodness. Man, it has not, they ain't been something to write home about. That secondary play has not been good. They had always been noted for churning out. And I can't tell you why, but, boy, that Kansas, Missouri area turns out a lot of defensive linemen to the NFL. Mm-hmm. And they've always been able to get a really good pass rush. I don't see it this year.
Yeah.
Not like I've seen in years past. And, again, you're going through a coaching change and everything else, but what a quarterback. You don't have that element at quarterback. And I think, again, Connor, being a young quarterback and how Bazelak will do, you know one thing, you throw it to one side of the field and there's Stingley, and you're going to test the other side quite a bit.
Mike, what do you think? Back to the offensive line for a minute. If Ed Ingram doesn't play and Charles Turner starts at left guard, how does that impact this line?
Well, Ed's a big road grader, okay? He's one of these guys, and like all the LSU offensive guards all look the same if you put Chason Hines and you put Bradford and Cordell when he was healthy and Ingram. They all look alike, from the backside. I mean, the way they built, they wide in the hips. Man, that ain't Charles Turner. He ain't wide in the hips for an offensive lineman. He's more built, for me, it's sort of what I told you about Shanahan. When you first see him, your first impression is, okay, that guy either plays center or right tackle. Mm-hmm. Okay, just the way he's built. But you know what? He's a guy that Ed has talked about quite a bit of how well he's practiced. And so, he's a guy that has had to add some weight. He came in here. I don't know if he was 250 pounds when he first came to LSU. He might have, that second number might have been a 4.
That's crazy.
When he first came here, he's light on his feet. He is built like a right tackle would be built, and that he's sort of long, lean, doesn't have a lot of meat on the bone like you would see with Bradford and Thomas and Ingram and those guys who all, they thickly built, in the stomach, waist, thighs, everything else. He's different. He's a good technician, though. Man, he knows how to use his arms and his hands real well. If I'm Missouri, I sort of test that, and maybe by putting a power player against him to say, okay, I know you're a pretty good technician. You got a little bit of weight, but I'm going to see just how powerful you are, or how well you take to some muscle leaning on you. But as far as a technician, he's got it. I think it's always been an issue of how well will he hold up with him being 245, 250. Now he's up 275, 280, somewhere in that range. That's awfully small for an offensive lineman today, right?
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of those guys today walking around. But Ed trusts him, and so does James Craig. They think his technical skills will get him there. And I think a year from now, you'll see him, that second number will be a 9. I think he'll grow into that tall body and be a really good player and probably be the starting center for this football team.
Mike, is there anything else? We'll break, we'll get predictions, and we'll get questions for Mike as well. Anything through 2 games that has surprised you, good or bad?
Man, the good part is how good their special teams is. And listen, I give Greg McMahon a lot of credit for that. I think Greg's done a great job with the special teams and getting that to work. The kicking game, punting. You got a special guy doing returns.
Yeah.
So that part. Offensively, at moments, doesn't it kind of bring back the memories of a year ago? That big play ability, that ability to run the football when you have to. Defensively, there's been a little bit of erraticism there. That part, and they gave up yardage against Vandy, but they didn't give up the huge play, to be honest with you. They sort of bent and bent and bent, but, when you score that many points, Vandy can't match you, point for point. And neither will Missouri. They're not going to be able to match you either. So I would like to see better play in the secondary. I thought that would be better than what it is now. And I can't explain why. Because you certainly can't say, well, man, that pass rush a year ago is a lot better than you got today. You kidding me? After a couple games, that they didn't have a pass rush like what they got today. And that linebacking core has played pretty well. Again, it's been more of a secondary issue where you see some breakdowns that I think that Pelini would like to clean up in that part of the game. So offensively, at moments, man, they look really good. And you maybe have a breakdown up front along the offensive line. But you knew that, having 4 new starters. And, something you and I talked about, but I had sent it to Coach O, did a breakdown of the injuries and which position loses more players to injury in the Power 5 conferences with the teams throughout the last 5 years. Number 1 was tackle, number 2 is guard. What has LSU had the last 2 weeks? A tackle and a guard go down.
Yep.
It's funny how, as much as the game changes, that don't change. That part of it doesn't change. That those big men in this physical game, you're going to lose some from time to time, and that's why you got to build up that depth along the offensive line. So I would say the offensive line play is sort of a work in progress, but gotten better. Secondary, sort of feel the exact same way. And man, they light years better when you got Stingley.
All right, Mike, let's get some picks first. Let's go LSU, Mizzou, 11 a.m. Saturday. What do you think?
Man, we're going to be doing pregame early. That's all.
Hey, Mike.
Man, every time I hear 11 o'clock, I was like, I'll be up early Saturday morning.
Mike, I would rather that than a postgame that's going to run to 1 a.m.
Well, I'm used to staying up late, so for one reason or another. No, I'll go with 20 points is a lot of points. But you know what? LSU's, to me, having watched Missouri, LSU wins this game easily. I think it's 40-30 LSU.
Mike, did you see that the spread has fallen all the way to I'm looking at it 13.5 right now?
Yeah, you know why? Because people react to you having to travel.
Yeah.
I think that they think it'll be a distraction game. And so give me that 13 points
Seriously.
or 13.5 any day of the week because, this opened at 20.
Yeah.
It went to 20.5, back to 20, and it has steadily fallen since the move. But, I think for some people outside the region, they don't understand. It's the 6th time we've gone through it. All the distractions of the offseason. I think LSU handles that really well.
Monday Night Football in the Dome, Saints, Chargers. Saints are more than a touchdown pick in this one, Mike, 7.5. A big favorite, which surprised me a little bit to see. What do you think?
I think, I like the Saints in this game, but I'm picking them 30-24. Okay. Just because of that secondary play, it still scares me in the way that, they don't make a lot of plays back there, and then when they make one, they get a penalty. So, I think the Chargers hang in there. And the fact that Herbert can throw the football so well deep, again, it may surprise me, and the Saints come up big defensively. But this is October. We've talked about it, how this team, for whatever reason, hits a stride. And, 18-2 is a strong number.
Yeah. The
last 20 games in October. I like it 30-24 Saints, but the secondary is still a major concern for me on this football team, and most likely you won't have Deontay Harris returning kicks. I mean, you signed Tommy Lee Lewis for a reason.
Yeah, Mike, by the way, I did want to ask about that. So Will Clapp was waived, Tommy Lee Lewis was signed. What do you read into that? I'm assuming you think that Tommy Lee Lewis returns kicks and punts?
Yeah, I think that, listen, Alvin's he got a lot of other jobs.
Yeah.
His W-2 forms are filled out pretty good. So you want somebody else to do it. And, for whatever reason, Sean trusts Tommy Lee Lewis in that role. And to me, that tells me that, Deontay's hamstring may not be just a 1-week injury.
Let's get some questions here. Ask Mike, why does it seem Alex Anzalone is taking steps back? He said he looks lost 4 weeks into the season.
I don't know about loss. The interference call, I guess, was technically right. But that's ticky-tack. You talking about he just got him a little bit past the line of scrimmage on that particular thing. All I knew is, man, he makes plays. Now, against the pass, that's not been his forte. But I thought, one of those pass interference calls was, man, if you're going to start throwing that, then you better start throwing them on other teams too. Because, man, I've seen guys 6 and 8 and 10 yards downfield, kind of bumping receivers off, and they don't have that flag thrown. Again, we're starting to see it with the Saints. I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I'll repeat it again. Reputation calls. Referees in the back of their minds, a guy makes a play or something, or it's close, that flag's coming out. And the Saints are going to have to fight that because, for officials who watch film and they see all these plays and see the flags, you're going to have to fight against that.
Yeah, it's alarming, the number of calls, but
yep.
it's legitimate.
It's terrible for the game, Matt.
I agree.
It's horrible.
It's hard to watch, Mike. It is. I mean,
I agree.
Mike, I feel like I ran on that on Twitter every time I see a Saints game, but it is tough to watch. 30 seconds. One more question, Mike. Who finishes as LSU's second best receiver this year?
Ooh, that's a toughie.
Right?
That's a toughie on that particular deal because, man, it may be spread out really quick and even between Marshall and Racy. Mm-hmm. And so, man, now you got Kirkland and Jenkins. Right now, I'll tell you what. I'll go with Jenkins.
He's Mike Detillier, SaintsReport.com, MikeDetillier.com. Y'all follow him on Twitter at Mike Detillier. You're the man, Mike. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.